Cars are usually split into 4 categories: rear-wheel drive, front-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and all-wheel drive. And yes, those last 2 are different things. And sure, while all drive systems are different, it seems like just 2 of them are always at each other's throats. And that's right, I am talking about the everlasting argument of front-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive. Muscles, take it away.
Welcome to the main event of the evening! In the blue corner, we got a whole team of rice cookers coming in on their Honda Civic boxes. We got Team Front Wheel Drive! And on the red corner, we got the old geezers running in on a box of old muscle cars, coming all the way from Carburation Nation, refusing to leave the past behind. It's Team Rear Wheel Drive! You're both horrible and I hate you.
That's right, for this week we are going to compare both of them and we're going to figure out which one's better. So yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Let's start off with their histories. Rear-wheel drive was the first and most widespread drivetrain throughout the early 20th century. It was a fairly straightforward design with a longitudinal engine in the front connecting to a transmission directly behind it. The transmission then transmitted power to the output drive shaft, which reaches the differential, which turns the rotational power to 90 degrees on both sides, putting power to the wheels. It's actually a very simple design and pretty easy to understand, which is why, it was the main go-to drivetrain for all cars in the past. The first front-wheel drive vehicle was actually created around the same time as the first rear-wheel drive vehicle. However, it didn't really take off until the mid-70s onward, where gas mileage started to become a problem. In front-wheel drive, the engine was placed in the engine bay sideways, with the transmission and differential all cramped into the same area. Its simple to install design, superior traction, low cost, and great mileage is what has made it a real contender for the average daily driver. I'm not going to waste your guys' time anymore, so let's just get into comparisons already. In the modern day, gas mileage has become king when it comes to selecting a proper commuter car. This has been the case since roughly 1973, where gas prices shot up to roughly 55 cents per gallon. Now, this may not sound like a lot in modern money, but when adjusted for inflation, it jumps up to about $3.32 a gallon. Thank God we don't have to deal with that anymore, right?
I love you, California. You're the greatest state of all.
Whew, yikes. Anyways, a lot of people that lived through that and the repercussions are still alive to this day and are actually at the age where, their kids are, starting to buy their first cars and stuff. And when you're that young, mileage is king. As a result, the idea of having amazing gas mileage stays front and center because, well, that's how they were taught and how they raise their kids. Now, I'm just going to say it right now, if you want a car that has great gas mileage, you're going to go with front-wheel drive. That's just how it is, or just way better on gas. The reason why is because rear-wheel drive suffers from something called parasitic loss. Parasitic loss is present in any mechanical device. Think about this. Is it easier to throw a bowling ball or a baseball? A baseball. Don't be a smart aleck and say a bowling ball. Come on, just go with my example. The reason behind this is because the baseball has a lot less mass than the bowling ball. Less mass equals less force required to move it. It's the exact same way with cars. See, with front wheel drive, everything's all crammed together. There's not a lot of extra parts. It's just boom, boom, boom. The transmission's built into the engine and the differential's directly connected to the transmission. It's just, it's all together. There's less things it has to move. Whereas with a rear wheel drive vehicle, you have a huge drive shaft, a larger differential, a larger transmission, and various other parts that increase weight. As a result, the car with front wheel drive can travel the same distance but use less fuel. Sure, rear-wheel drive vehicles can make up for it by switching to carbon fiber drive shafts and other lighter parts, but these are expensive and they can only get you so far. So in conclusion, when it comes to gas mileage, front-wheel drive vastly has the upper hand. because it's inherently just less force to move it. Now, this is where things get interesting. Between these two, which is better to drive performance-wise? You have either front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. Now, people on both sides are gonna swear, oh sorry, not people, fanboys on both sides are gonna swear by the fact that their cars just are a lot better than the other one. But granted, a lot of this is because they are loud and annoying fanboys. Or girls. Girls can be annoying too, I don't care. It's no secret that many performance cars opt for either a rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive setup, including the Koenigsegg Agera, the Jaguar F-Type, the Ferrari Enzo, and more. However, you may not be aware of the reasoning behind this, which actually is primarily having to do with handling. When it comes to handling, one thing that is often overlooked by enthusiasts is weight distribution. Weight distribution, or center of gravity, is the percentage of how much of the car's total weight is in a certain area. Most performance cars strive for the almost perfect 50-50 weight distribution ratio.
Perfectly balanced.
The better balanced a car is, the better it will handle. This is also one of the reasons why many high-performance cars use the mid-engine layout instead of the typical front-engine design. This balance is why rear-wheel drive tends to handle better than front-wheel drive on dry pavement. Even though its heavier components weigh it down, its weight is spread throughout the car, while in a front-wheel drive vehicle, everything's focused in the front, which makes it rather front-heavy. This will also make front-wheel drive vehicles susceptible to torque steer, where under heavy acceleration, a car will veer left or right depending on which wheel is shooting out the most torque. This isn't a problem for rear-wheel drive because no matter which tire is putting out the most power, the front tires are ultimately what gives the car its direction. Also, the biggest problem with front-wheel drive is because since everything is crammed into one spot in the front, the wheels don't have as much room to turn. Whereas in rear-wheel drive, you don't have anything else there besides the engine. It's just complete turning radius improvement or whatever. Rear-wheel drive is also perfect for pulling, as the power wheels are closer to the load in the back. But like I said, all this is only true for dry pavement. On muddy roads and snow, the script actually flips, and front-wheel drive actually gets the edge in handling. The extra weight on the front wheels actually forces the tire downwards, forcing them to get better grip. Not only that, when it comes to basic physics, it's easier to pull something than it is to push something. This is the reason why many starting rally cars are front-wheel drive, such as the Ford Focus. Basically, it boils down to this. On perfect dry pavement, like a racetrack or a drag strip, rear-wheel drive is king. But if you need a commuter car that's able to handle pretty much whatever you throw at it, weather-wise, you're going to want to opt for front-wheel drive because you're going to get better traction. Ultimately, it's safer. This doesn't mean that you can't drive a rear-wheel drive in the snow. It's just, it's going to be a lot less forgiving than its front-wheel driving counterpart. Let's put it like this. If I was going to go camping, I'd rather take my sister's Kia Optima than my dad's Jaguar F-Type. Now with modern technology, you're going to find that most drivetrains, no matter what their setup is, are going to be very reliable. So now it comes down to a very close neck and neck race as to which one is superior when it comes to reliability. It's close, but I think I'm going to have to go with rear wheel drive. If you look at it, it's easy to see why. It's a decidedly simple system, and if a part breaks, such as the drive shaft or the differential, it's pretty easy to reach, which will save you in labor costs. This also leads us to the main drawback in terms of reliability for front wheel drive. In rear wheel drive, since the parts are all spread out, hitting a bad pothole or curbing your car will only mess up that section of a car. If you hit your front wheel in a curb in a front wheel drive, it's going to be a lot more difficult and you're at risk of damaging your engine as everything is cramped into a small space. And if you hit a curb hard enough, you could very easily damage your transmission or worse.
There goes my alignment, boys!
Finally, with front wheel drive, this is a not very well known fact, but you are going to go through front tires a lot quicker. The added weight on the front tires combined with the fact that the front wheels are taking care of both steering and moving the car means they're going to wear out a lot quicker than their rear wheel drive counterparts, who only has one set of wheels for power and another set of wheels for steering. Alright, so obviously this section is going to be a little biased, but I figured, it's all the fun stuff to talk about when you're thinking of getting a little car for performance or something like that. Rear wheel drives are built with performance in mind, and it's obvious because of how many car tricks are designed to be used with rear wheel drive. First and foremost is the burnout. Remember what I said earlier about how pulling is actually more effective than pushing? Yeah, well, it comes into play here. Don't get me wrong, it's completely possible to do a burnout on a front wheel drive car. It's just more difficult without the help of something like a line lock or a proper emergency brake. Let's talk about automatic transmission cars, since those are the most common nowadays. In a rear wheel drive setup, it goes like this. You hold your brake pedal all the way down. Then you build up revs with your other foot. Once you reach around 2500 or 3500 RPM, depending on your torque converter, you mash the gas and release the brake at the same time. Your wheels break traction and you got a burnout. See, but with front wheel drive, it's a little bit different. See, the brakes in the front of a car are oftentimes better than the brakes in the back. This is true across most cars, no matter the drivetrain. So in order to do a burnout, not only are you battling with your superior pulling layout, but you're also battling against the brakes, more so than on a rear wheel drive vehicle. As a result, You need to have the emergency brake on, which won't necessarily stop your car from rolling, but it's a start. In all honesty, I think you're way better off just getting yourself a line lock kit. If you're curious about line locks, don't worry, I'm going to explain it in a different video. Basically, it's a burnout button, so. Front wheel drive cars are also horrible at drifting, as drifting means you need to throw your back end around the turn. In a rear wheel drive, you can initiate a drift by simply turning and pulling your handbrake as you turn. Oh, by the way, I am by no means a drift instructor, so please do more research than just cranking your wheel and pulling your handbrake around a turn. I don't know what I'm talking about, you know. I only know the basics. Drifting in front wheel drive is possible, but it takes more control and skill by the driver. As a result, the learning curve is a whole lot steeper. Now, if you want to drift in front wheel drive, there's a little trick for it. This trick is called the Scandinavian flick, where you crank the wheel opposite of the turn and then immediately crank it back towards the turn. This forces the rear wheels to lose traction and tosses the rear end around the corner. Now, this requires perfect timing and, excuse my language, mom, balls of steel. Because if you hang the wheel in the opposite direction for just a fraction of a second too long, you're going to be going completely off the track. So, you better know what you're doing before you try this. It also forces the car's weight distribution to go back and forth, so you increase the possibility of rolling over. Last but not least in the fun category is, of course, the donut. I mean the vehicle donut, where your wheel is cranked to the side and you're constantly moving in a circle in a cloud of smoke. In a rear-wheel drive vehicle, it's very easy and there's multiple ways to do them. I myself prefer the Mexican style, where you crank the wheel to the side and just mash the gas. Kudos to the broken specialist for teaching me that terminology. You guys check them out for sure. See, donuts are just forcing your car to move and oversteer continuously. But since the front-wheel drive vehicles primarily experience understeer, they can't really do that. However, there are two ways to do a donut in front-wheel drive. Have a lot of power, or do it backwards. Pardon me, there's one more. That other one wasn't the last one. One more. Now, quite possibly the coolest thing you can do in a rear-wheel drive vehicle that front-wheel drive can't even dream of doing is the wheelie. I don't even need to explain it. Just roll the clip. I don't. Alright, so that brings us to decision time. Which drivetrain layout is better? Now, before we get into it, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you really like the video, maybe share it with your friends. I'm trying to get this channel a little further out there. I really appreciate you guys checking me out. Now, let's get back into it. Anyways, when it comes to front-wheel drive versus rear-wheel drive, the winner for the better drivetrain layout is neither. Okay, I know it's not a fun answer. And if you had to ask me personally, I'd pick rear-wheel drive, but that's because I'm biased. If you want to just take the answer and run, go ahead. You know, video's over now. You can do whatever you want. Honestly, it's impossible to choose which one is better without bringing, personal preference into the equation. With front-wheel drive's gas mileage comes rear-wheel drive's reliability. And with rear-wheel drive's burnouts and donuts, you have front-wheel drive's rallying ability. Ultimately, it completely depends on the driver and what you want to use it for. If you want a commuter car with great gas mileage that can handle a lot, then, go with front-wheel drive. If you want a track performer that can whip up a cloud of smoke on a dime, rear-wheel drive's your thing. It's completely up to you. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to come watch my video. I post videos like this every week, so feel free to come check it out next week. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. It helps me out a ton. If you really want to help out the channel, you can shop on Amazon through the link below. Doesn't matter what you buy, you can buy whatever you want. I don't care. I hope you guys all have a great day. Peace.